Ethan Miller liked to sit on the high ridge just outside the colony town. From up there, he could see everything: the houses with their glowing windows, the farmland stretching into the distance, and far away on the horizon, the dark outline of the ruins. Most folks stayed clear of those ruins, saying they were bad luck, but Ethan had always been drawn to them. He sat with his knees pulled up, arms wrapped around them, and hummed a tune softly to himself. The stars were beginning to shine above, one by one, and his voice rose into the cool night air. Music was the only thing that made sense to him. When he sang, the noise of the world seemed to fall away. The problems of the colony, the chores waiting at home, even the expectations of his parents, all of it slipped into silence. His father wanted him to become an engineer, to learn the machines that kept the colony alive. His mother pushed him toward farming, saying the land always needed hands. Ethan tried to listen, but his heart never followed. Singing was the only thing he truly cared about, though everyone told him it was useless. Songs won't fix engines, his father would say. Songs won't put food on the table, his mother would add. But still Ethan sang. That night something felt different. His voice seemed stronger, carrying farther than usual, as though the air itself wanted to hold on to his song. He let the notes linger, soft at first, then fuller, climbing higher. The sound rolled across the open fields and reached the black shapes of the ruins. And then, it happened. The air seemed to shiver. Ethan paused, his heart thumping. He thought maybe it was just his imagination. But no. He tried again, letting a clear note echo through the valley. This time he swore the ruins answered him. The sound didn't come back as a normal echo. It was sharper, richer, like another voice had joined his, hidden deep inside those old stones. A chill ran up his arms. He stood quickly, staring out at the ruins. Nothing moved, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something ancient had stirred. The stone towers had stood silent for centuries, but tonight they weren't silent anymore. Ethan kept humming, his eyes fixed on the horizon. The strange harmony rose again, faint but real, and it filled him with both fear and excitement. For the first time, his music felt like it mattered. Like it was heard. He didn't know why or how, but in that moment Ethan Miller, just a boy with a song, had touched something far bigger than himself. And though he didn't yet understand it, the ruins were no longer sleeping. Ethan couldn't shake the sound he'd heard the night before. It wasn't just an echo, he was sure of it. The ruins had answered him. He lay awake most of the night, replaying the strange harmony in his head, wondering if he had dreamed it. By morning, curiosity had become too strong to ignore. So when the sun dipped low and the fields turned golden, Ethan left the colony behind. He slipped past the warning signs nailed into the fence line and made his way toward the ruins. His heart pounded with a mix of fear and excitement. People said those old towers were cursed, built by hands long gone, but Ethan didn't believe in curses. He believed in what he heard. The ruins loomed taller the closer he got. Broken spires clawed at the sky, their shadows stretching over cracked stone paths. Plants had grown wild here, weaving between shattered walls, covering half-buried halls. Yet when Ethan stepped inside, he felt something strange. The place wasn't dead. He began to hum again, softly at first. To his surprise, the walls seemed to respond, vibrating faintly with each note. It was as if the sound bounced back with a life of its own, leading him deeper. Every corner he turned, every doorway he passed through, the pull of the sound grew stronger, like the ruins themselves were guiding him. Dust drifted down from the ceiling as he entered what must have once been a great hall. Part of the dome had collapsed, letting in shafts of light where vines spilled through. Beneath the rubble, something massive lay hidden, half swallowed by roots and soil. Ethan froze, his breath catching in his throat. At first, he thought it was some kind of monument. It stretched out like the shape of a beast, larger than any machine he had ever seen. Its body seemed built of both metal and bone, fused together in ways his mind couldn't quite understand. The surface was dulled with age, covered in moss and cracks, but the sight of it stirred something in him. It didn't feel like a statue. It felt like a secret that had been waiting. Slowly Ethan approached. His hand trembled as he reached out and pressed his palm against the cold surface. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then he felt it. A faint thrum, like the beat of a heart too large to belong to any living creature. He stumbled back, eyes wide. The shape shifted, almost imperceptibly, and then a sound rose, a low hum that matched the rhythm of his song. A single eye, round and bright as a window, flickered open. Ethan's chest tightened. He realized in that moment what he had found. This wasn't stone. It wasn't a relic meant to be admired. It was alive. No, not alive exactly, but something close. Something sleeping. The great shape before him was not a monument at all. It was a dragon. and he had just woken it. The moment Ethan touched the giant creature and its eye flickered open, nothing was the same again. He ran back to the colony, heart racing, words stumbling out as he tried to explain what he had found. At first no one believed him. People shook their heads, saying he was imagining things. But then the ground shook. Lights flickered in the ruins. And before long the whole colony knew, something old and powerful had woken. Word spread beyond the colony faster than anyone expected. By the next day, black shapes appeared in the skies above. Alien ships. Long and sharp, they hung in orbit like knives waiting to fall. The older settlers remembered those shapes. Their grandparents had spoken of them, vessels belonging to the same race that had once held human worlds in chains. Fear settled over the town like a heavy shadow. Families gathered together, whispering about what would happen when the aliens came down. Ethan listened too, but something inside him wouldn't let him stay afraid. He remembered the dragon's eye, the way it had opened as if listening to his song. He couldn't explain why, but he felt connected to it as if the ancient creature had chosen him. While others hid, Ethan returned to the ruins. The path felt different this time. The walls hummed louder, matching the beat of his pulse. He swallowed hard, his hands trembling, and began to sing. His voice shook at first, breaking in the still air, but he forced himself to keep going. Higher and stronger his notes climbed until the ruins shook beneath his feet. Then the ground split apart. Stone and dust exploded upward as the massive dragon rose from its resting place. Its body stretched wider than the colony's fields, its wings unfolding like vast sails made of shining metal and ancient bone. Starlight glinted off its scales, casting silver sparks across the valley. Ethan stood frozen, but the dragon did not turn its power against him. Instead, it leaned low, lowering its massive head until its single glowing eye met his. The sound it made was not words but something deeper, a roar that vibrated through the air, through the earth, through Ethan's chest. He took a shaky breath and sang again. This time, the dragon's wings stretched high, catching the wind. Its body lifted, dirt and stone falling away as it soared into the night sky. The roar that followed split the heavens, louder than thunder, shaking the stars themselves. And all the colony, every man, woman and child, saw it, the boy who sang and the dragon who obeyed. The colony had never felt so small. Above, the alien ships broke through the clouds with a thunder that shook windows and rattled doors. Their voices came through the radios, cold and sharp, demanding the people kneel and give up what they had found. Everyone knew what they wanted. The dragon. And the boy. But the colony council stood firm. For the first time in generations they refused to bow. They sent no answer but silence, their people gathered in the square, hearts pounding. Fathers held their children close. Mothers whispered prayers. And through the fear, one name kept rising, Ethan. Out beyond the edge of town, Ethan stood at the side of the dragon. His knees shook, his throat dry, but he didn't back away. The creature towered above him like a mountain of metal and living flame, its eyes fixed on the sky where the enemy ships circled. Ethan felt so small, so breakable, yet when he placed his hand against the dragon's side, the deep thrum inside its body steadied him. "Please," he whispered, more to himself than to the beast, "don't let me fail them." He began to sing. His voice cracked at first, thin and trembling. But then he thought of his family, his neighbors, the colony that had always told him songs were useless. He thought of the fear in their eyes, the way they had stood together instead of surrendering. Slowly his voice grew stronger, rising higher, filling the air. The dragon's chest rumbled in answer. Its wings unfolded, massive sails catching the glow of fire from within. With a single beat, the ground shook and the beast launched itself upward. Ethan's song climbed with it, and together they rose to meet the invaders. The first ship fired. A beam of energy split the night sky, but the dragon twisted aside with impossible speed. Then it opened its jaws and a torrent of fire poured out, brighter than the sun. The alien ship exploded in a storm of sparks, falling in burning pieces toward the sea. Cheers broke out in the colony below, but Ethan couldn't hear them. He was lost in the song, every note carrying through his body, every breath tied to the dragon's power. He sang of courage, of defiance, of survival. The dragon turned his music into flame and fury, ripping through the enemy fleet. One by one the alien ships fell. The sky lit up with fire and wreckage, each blast echoing across the valley. The invaders who had once enslaved whole worlds now found themselves hunted by the last of the Drakari dragons, and guided by a human boy's voice. When the final ship fled into the stars, silence fell over the colony. The people looked up and saw their protector soaring above, wings spread wide against the smoke-stained sky. And at its side, riding the storm with nothing but a song, was Ethan Miller. The sky was quiet at last. Smoke drifted across the horizon where pieces of the enemy fleet still burned in the distance, falling slowly like dying stars. The colony below was shaken, but it was still there, homes still standing, people still alive. Against all odds they had survived. The dragon descended from the clouds, its wings folding back with a sound like rolling thunder. When it landed, the ground trembled, but no one ran. The people only watched, eyes wide with awe and disbelief. The beast lowered its massive head until it rested near the edge of the town, and its single glowing eye turned toward Ethan. He stood there, breathing hard, his voice raw from singing. Dust covered his face and clothes, but his eyes were clear. For a moment no one spoke. Then his parents pushed through the crowd, their faces pale, their steps uncertain. His mother reached for him first, gripping his shoulders as if afraid he might vanish. His father stood close behind, silent, his expression unreadable. Ethan braced himself, expecting scolding or anger. But instead, his father's hand landed on his shoulder, firm and steady. "You saved us," he said quietly. There was no judgment in his tone, only respect. His mother's eyes filled with tears, not of fear this time, but of pride. For years they had told him music was a waste, that songs couldn't protect or provide. Yet here they stood, alive because of the very gift they had dismissed. And for the first time Ethan saw in their faces that they understood. He wasn't just their son anymore. He was something more. Around them the colony slowly gathered. Farmers, engineers, children, all the people who had doubted him, looked at Ethan with wonder. Not because he was stronger than them or braver, but because he had reminded them of something they had forgotten. Humanity's strength was not just in machines or tools or weapons. It was in the heart, in the ability to create, to feel, to dream, and to sing. The dragon, as if agreeing, gave a low rumble that echoed across the valley. It curled its body near the town, wings wrapping protectively like the walls of a fortress. The people did not fear it anymore. To them it was no longer a monster from forgotten times. It was a guardian. And Ethan was the bridge between them. That night, when the fires were out and the colony finally rested, Ethan climbed the ridge where he had always sung alone. This time he wasn't alone. The dragon lay behind him, vast and silent, its glowing eye watching the stars. Ethan lifted his voice once more. The song was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried far. It spoke of loss and hope, of fear and courage, of a future waiting in the stars. His voice was not perfect, but it was human, something no alien, no machine could ever copy. And as his song rose into the night sky, the last dragon kept its watch, while the people of the colony listened, knowing they would never forget the boy who sang for them all.